It was a nice lift back there. But you got a lot to learn. I see great things in our future, kid.
His treasure has never been found. 5 billion easy.
I'm pretty sure he's just trying to kill me.
Don't touch your ear like that. You look like a baby.
Hello, everybody, and welcome again to another Keystone Film Review. Hopefully, I'm not going to peek out the mics this time.
Hopefully.
And hopefully that I don't get that stupid shit we got last time that we used this.
We shall see.
We shall see. We saw Uncharted.
Uncharted.
Oh, more like Uncharted, am I right?
I feel like I sharded with my mouth.
Starring Tom Holland, Mark Wahlberg, Antonio Banderas. I apologize, I cannot roll my R's. That's why I did the L, because it's Banderas. Sophie Ali, Tali Gabrielle, and directed by Ruben Fleischer. Ruben Fleischer, that name sounds familiar. Known for Zombieland. Okay, yeah, I do know. And Venom, the first Venom. Zombieland 2, Superstore. So yeah, he's done some stuff.
He did things.
Glenn. Good timing, Glenn's phone. I know nothing about the video game, so I cannot compare it to the video game. Glenn, you like the video games, don't you?
You know those people who go into the movies and they're like, yeah, it's not as good as the books. It's not ever going to be good as the books. This movie was shit compared to the books. The books did it so much better. Oh my God. I'm that book person, but in video game form. I've realized watching at least the last couple video game movies that the movies will never, ever be on par with the video games. It's kind of crazy, because you play those characters. You are those characters kind of specifically. You do what they do. You make them do what they want to do, and so on and so forth. And watching the movies, you can't make them do certain things or yada yada. You can't interact with them in a certain fashion, which makes video game movies so absolutely difficult to do. Tom Holland's Spider-Man.
He is.
And also Nathan Drake.
Yes.
And every other person you probably love is going to be Tom Holland soon. Even your mother. Watch out.
Oh my. Am I Tom Holland?
Yes.
Yeah. So I'm in the beginning of Tom Holland fatigue.
Mm-hmm.
I don't hate him. I've never hated him. I think he is definitely picking uninteresting movies. In my opinion, I know people love Spider-Man. That's great. I'm glad that they love Spider-Man. Uncharted's uninteresting. Cherry was uninteresting, at least what I've seen of it. I haven't watched the whole thing, but
he's doing a lot of, at least from what I've gathered from like interviews and stuff, that he's doing a lot of roles that he's wanted to do in his like, oh, I gotta do that. Like that's like my childhood dream is to do that. And that's constantly what he's been doing, at least, Spider-Man and so forth. He's picking his roles, which, honestly, if these studios, I don't blame him in the slightest. If these studios are throwing them at him, go for it, homie.
Yeah, it's not his fault.
But, at the same time, it is your fault.
Yeah.
You're the reason, technically, why I don't care for this movie that much.
I don't care how old Tom Holland is. He's 16.
He's
16 years old.
Nathan Drake is supposed to be 30 years old. I think at least in this movie.
But he's got a baby face. He's got a baby face in this movie. His voice, he's doing like a voice that makes it sound like he's trying to seem like an adult.
Yeah.
Like if you've ever watched BoJack Horseman, it's kind of like Vincent Adult Man doing like his voice, obviously exaggerated because that's Alison Brie, I believe, playing Vincent Adult Man. But like he's talking like this. I was like, oh, Mark Wahlberg, you want me to go on this thing with you? Because I got a deep voice because I'm manly, and he's doing a voice that is obviously not his normal voice, and it's just laughable.
It's very laughable,
Yeah.
especially him and Mark Wahlberg. You know, Mark Wahlberg was trying to hide his Boston accent a lot in this, and you know, Tom Holland is trying his best to sound serious. Like I don't have a high-pitched voice in the slightest.
I can do more than Spider-Man.
I can take me seriously. I want to be taken seriously. Okay, come on, Drake. You're about to die. What's going on? I'm flying this plane. You gotta let me fly. I'm a peacock. Yeah, you can't take any of this movie too seriously.
Yeah,
which
yeah.
I mean, you're not supposed to in any way.
Yeah, I mean, a couple weeks ago we reviewed Moonfall,
Yeah.
and I said that you need to check all of your reality at the door. You need to expel your reality. Or your disbelief at the door.
Yeah. Especially
This is somehow more unbelievable than Moonfall.
true.
See, for me, yes, I will admit that it is because it is supposed to take place in a more realistic world than
Yeah.
Moonfall. So I'm judging it more harshly than Moonfall. That is correct.
Yeah.
But there is not an iota of any real thing in this. Like, everything is just like, I'm not a scientist, and I still could just be like, that's not how that works.
Yeah.
That's not how that works. And it's the physics of it all. I know it's based on a video game.
Yeah.
And
I mean, even in Uncharted universe, Nathan Drake is one of the luckiest motherfuckers in video game history. Like, there's no anything he gets away with in video games, you'd be like, he shouldn't have survived that. But he does, because he's such a lucky son of a bitch that he can kind of get away with it no matter what it is, you know. In this, we're too far into reality now, because it's, you know, actual human beings that we're looking at and so on. But it's just so hard to see Tom Holland in a plane, jumping towards the plane going full velocity, and he's just like, oh, no wind. Not something like that. The whole puzzles going on with this movie. This is, again, video game critic at this point. You know, puzzles they got through way too easily. You know, just didn't seem like there was too much trying involved. At one point, he put in a key on the wrong end, and then he put it on the right end, and then he was like, oh, I got it. But after he combined things, I feel like that's a spoiler, but it's really not. It's just the puzzle part. It is very, very interesting as far as the movie goes.
yes, so that scene that's in the trailer where he's like hanging off the cargo plane and jumping.
Yeah.
I just Googled, and I know, again, video game movie. I know,
Video game.
suspension of disbelief. But this movie is too grounded in reality to the point, like, they have Ferdinand and Magellan. They have things that, like, actually exist in the real world. This takes place in our world. There's no other reason for us to believe otherwise. A cargo plane, which that plane is, has to go at least 143 miles per hour. I just Googled it. That's why it's so specific.
Yeah.
To stay in the air. When they're outside the plane, they have a light breeze in their hair.
A very light breeze.
143-mile wind.
Necklace is going like this.
Yeah. 143-mile wind would just be blowing your face back. And like Tom Cruise in the Mission Impossible movie. It's the same kind of plane. His hair is all over the place, and
It's like a leaf blower in his
it's like
mouth.
a leaf blower. So like there's nothing in that scene to make me believe it. Physics aside, there has to be something for me to be like, oh, okay, that makes sense. Like if he climbed the whole way, because all the cargo things were connected, he could have climbed, but no, he's jumping. It's just so unbelievable where it takes you out of it, and regardless of if it's based on a video game.
Yeah.
There's so many things like that. They show it in the trailer. The wood on the ships, having just sat there for that long with dampness and a humid climate like the Philippines has, would be rotten without being treated. It would be rotten. That wood would not be there anymore.
That's like also a thing that in the video games they took into consideration, like different elements of certain things. Like they would put that in the video game, you know, as like certain obstacles they would have to surpass on certain things.
Yeah.
I feel like, but like in this, and you know, this is me being biased on not liking Sony that much and just like the shit they put out.
Except for Sony classics. They have good stuff.
Well, yeah, I mean, mostly like video game. Like once they decide, oh, look, this is cashing in, let's do that.
Mm-hmm.
Or like, even their comic book stuff. It's just, it's like they're half-assing knowing that they're going to be banking on this, instead of just actually putting their money where their mouth is and be like, we can make a really good thing. They're like, let's just half-ass this. We know we're definitely gonna do sequels too.
Let's cash in. Yeah.
Let's cash in.
That's exactly
and
what it is.
That's always, especially as a video game, obviously lover and a hopeful video game movie lover, is that you go in hoping for a really good thing, and it turns out like every other thing where it's like, that was decent enough to where I could probably watch a sequel or something like that, but not be happy about it because I know it's just going to be like the last thing. Looking at you, most likely Tomb Raider 2 that's probably coming out here in the next couple of years.
You think they're making another one?
They're definitely making
They're
another
definitely?
one.
Oh, with Alicia Vikander?
I hope so. But anyway, it's video game movies, they're hard to be good, and they're never ever taken into consideration that they could be better than what's put into them. This is another one that just happens to be that thing, is where it's not taken care of. It's not getting the right cast. I think Sully Dead Up should have been, and I didn't think about this until like a month ago, Bruce Campbell. Bruce Campbell would have been a perfect Sully.
Yeah.
Growing a mustache, he's got the voice, he's got the chops, he's got the charisma, all of that. As far as Nathan Drake's go, it's hard not to picture anybody but Nolan North. They definitely could have found somebody. Tom Holland's not the guy, honestly, for me at least. I think he's great. He's great Spider-Man, but he's in so much shit right now that he's just another Tom Holland character.
And he just looks immature. Not that he is immature. He looks immature.
Mm-hmm.
He looks like a teenager. I don't know what Nathan Drake's supposed to look like, but I did not buy for a second that this was...
At least when he first meets Sully, he's a teenager. They got that correct. But as far as the first adventure in the first Uncharted, he was 30 years old. Now, the first Uncharted game, whatever we watched right there, was not the same thing. So they can manipulate that a little bit, That is what it is, but you don't really play an Uncharted game for teenage Drake unless it's like a half-hour gameplay. That's really it.
Mm-hmm.
Instead, we got an almost 2-hour movie on teenage Drake, whatever you want to call it, 20-year-old Drake.
He's at least 21 because he's a bartender.
Yeah.
So...
In New York.
Yeah. So there's that. Yeah, for me, it's just... And the thing about... You talked about the casting.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, they're trying to bank on these actors' names. Video game fans wouldn't care as long as the casting's right. Like Bruce Campbell, the price tag for Bruce Campbell is significantly less than the price tag for Mark Wahlberg. I can guarantee you
100%.
that. The price tag for anyone else is significantly smaller than it would be for Tom Holland. Mm-hmm. So you would save money in your budget there alone and not have shitty looking water.
But he's huge right now. We gotta have Tom Holland.
Huge right now.
He's our Spider-Man.
Yeah, so, I get why they do that. It's just frustrating that they do that because casting is everything. And you shouldn't cast movies based on popularity. You should cast movies based on who is correct.
Mm-hmm. Even if they went the route of, a lot of people were huge for getting Nathan Fillion to play Nathan Drake.
He's got Bruce Campbell.
He did a short film, and he was Nathan Drake for like a hot, I don't even know how long it was, 15-minute at probably most. I'm sorry, I haven't watched it in a while. But like people were raging like that. Oh, he's got to be the guy. If it's not going to be Nolan North, which that was also the thing. Even with Nolan North, no one's got the fucking charisma that he brings as Nathan Drake. Tom Holland couldn't match that in the slightest.
Tom Holland, he tried in this. The reason he's so good at Spider-Man is he has very little confidence. You can tell he has very little confidence as an actor, which is what makes him so good in specific movies. I know I bring up The Impossible literally every time Tom Holland is mentioned. In The Impossible, he's great in it because he's not supposed to be confident. He's a child in that. In Spider-Man, he's not supposed to be 100% confident, so he's pretty good in that.
Yep.
Nathan Drake based on the dialogue alone, is supposed to be confident.
Yeah.
Am I correct?
Yeah, he's very confident.
He does not seem confident in this movie.
He's confident that he's gonna, get through it, but he most likely won't. It's usually it's all luck for him, and that's why he's so confident.
Yeah,
and it's what makes him such a great character. Is it's all charisma and luck. That's literally Nathan Drake in a nutshell.
Yeah,
but
I'm guessing. I don't know.
Yeah, I don't really have too much more to say as far as video game.
Oh damn!
As far as video game movies go, it's again, we're just sitting through another video game movie. This wasn't nearly as bad as Resident Evil for me. If any of you were horrified by watching me do that review, it's not nearly as bad as that. But it's another video game movie.
Also, I wish movies would remember that erosion exists. Like, there's this map of this cave on a sea. When did Ferdinand Magellan? I'm gonna just do a quick Google.
It's 500 years ago.
500 years ago. So there's this cave that's on the ocean that he has to go to find these, and it's the exact same shape that they drove on the cave. They drew on the map.
Clear as
500 years ago. Clear as day. Exact same dimensions. Everything. Scaled down, obviously. Mm-hmm. Erosion exists, especially on the ocean. There is no fucking way that cave looks the exact same.
Yeah.
No way. No way.
No way.
And in fact, with how thin that top part was, it's very likely that cave doesn't exist anymore.
But it do?
But that's what I'm saying. Like, again, yes, video game movie. Ground it in reality somehow. If you want me to not point it, and I know there's a lot of people that go for mindless action movies, that's great. I'm glad that you probably are enjoying this because it's very mindless. If you have any brains or keep your brain on at all, you're going to just point out the flaws. Gold cannot be used as a shield against bullets. Gold is a soft metal. You know how people bite into gold? It's because it's a soft metal, and that's how you tell if gold is real.
That goes against Nathan's luck, man.
That's not luck.
That's luck for Nathan.
That is luck. That is fake gold.
He's like,
if that's blocking
I hope
bullets.
it blocks these bullets. Bang, bang, bang. It did. Goofball.
I want to know what the is that a BB gun? Was that a BB gun?
It's a BB gun.
It's ridiculous.
The Scottish BB gun.
But yeah, anyway, it's if you want a mindless action movie with terrible Indiana Jones reference in it, that's not even funny. Sure, you might want to watch this. But other than that, I got nothing else to say.
Yeah,
we shall rate it.
It's a typical video game movie, as I stated before. I'd give it a 2.5. The time, I will say, the time went way faster than I thought it would. I thought it was going to drag. What was it, like an hour, 45 minutes or something like that? Not even?
Yeah, but maybe longer. It felt
maybe. It went way faster. These types of video game movies need to be a limited series. Like Last of Us is doing, I don't know how that's going to be, so I cannot credit that yet. But they need to be limited series. I'm giving it 2.5, so Mike can go his turn.
I'm being less generous than you. It's a minute 56 minutes. Minute 56.
I did like
hour
Marry
56.
Me. I did like Marry Me way more than this.
I like Marry Me way more.
I want to put that on the line.
Didn't you give Marry Me a 2.5 too?
I almost gave it a 3.
Almost gave it a 3. So like it's like Uncharted Marry Me.
Mm-hmm.
I liked Marry Me way more than this.
Mm-hmm.
This just like there was too many parts that just blew my mind at how stupid it was. Like, again, just make it a cartoon at that point if you're going to do that. If it's a cartoon, I'm going to forget about it because it's drawings, it's animated. I don't give a shit. But if you're going to ground it in reality and have history in it, make it somewhat realistic. And so I'm giving it a 1.5. 1.5. I really didn't care for it. Yes, it went by fast.
I was being very generous. I don't know what I gave Tomb Raider. I'd have to look that up.
Yeah,
but
I really did not like this.
As for at this moment, editing me, you put what you want, future Glenn.
Yeah.
But as of right now, it's 2.5.
Yeah.
And they say that a hero can save us. I'm not gonna stand here and wait.
That was horrible. The harmonizing. I'm not good at harmonizing.
Bye-bye.
Bye.